We have 500 followers on Instagram. We're in 3 different active Discord servers, and we can literally text anyone on Earth in 2 seconds. Yet, if your main 2 or 3 friends happen to be busy on a Friday night and you wanted to go hit the gym, play a round of golf, or just grab something to eat, you look down at your phone and you realize you actually don't have anyone to call. It's a weird kind of silence. You sit in your room and you open up social media to escape it, but it backfires. You check Snapchat maps or look at Instagram stories, and you see people out hanging out, doing cool things, and suddenly that silence gets even heavier. You start digging this mental hole, bogging yourself down, thinking, man, do I even have friends? And what hurts the most is the realization that if you aren't the one constantly sending the text, making the plans, and pulling people together, nothing happens if you don't initiate. The weekend passes by in total isolation. We are living in the most digitally connected era in human history. But physically, we are facing an absolute friendship deficit. We know hundreds of faces, but we don't actually know anyone. So, why does making real friends feel so impossible right now? It's not because people dislike you, and it's not because you're unlikable. It's because the modern world has built a perfect psychological trap that makes isolation feel safer than connection. Let's get into what's really happening here. Think about the last time you were sitting next to someone at school, or at your job, or resting on a bench between sets at the gym. You look over, they're into the same things you are. Maybe they're wearing a brand you like, or you know they play the same video games or sports. You think about striking up a normal conversation. You want to be cool. You want to be confident. You want to just say something. But right before the words leave your mouth, your brain hits the brakes. What if it's weird? What if they think I'm a freak for randomly talking to them? What if I look crazy? So what do? You reach into your pocket, pull out your phone, and you start scrolling. We think we're just checking our notifications, but psychologically, we're doing something much deeper. We're choosing the safe off switch. Think about it. Talking to a real human being is hard work. I mean, it demands cognitive effort. When you talk to someone, you have to think, you have to actively listen, you have to process their expressions, understand their tone, and risk being rejected or misread. It requires you to be fully on. But looking at your phone, it requires none of that. Your phone screen demands zero processing power. It doesn't ask you to listen, it doesn't ask you to understand, and it will never judge you. It literally allows you to just turn your brain completely off. It gives you an immediate comfort of looking occupied, so you don't have to look like a loner standing in a room. But here's the trap. Every single time we choose the safety of the screen over the friction of a real interaction, we are training our social muscles to atrophy. We are teaching ourselves to fear 5 seconds of potential awkwardness so much that we voluntarily choose permanent isolation instead. We've swapped the effort of building a real brotherhood for the cheap convenience of a digital ghost town. And I know it just sounds like buzzword, but what I'm getting at is we have chosen to be on our phones more than we have chosen to speak to people. We have just developed an extreme, almost irrational phobia of modern social rejection. Back in the day, if you wanted to talk to someone, you had to just walk up and deal with whatever happened. Awkwardness was just a normal part of being a human. But today, because we spend so much time behind curated profiles where everything is clean, edited, and controlled, any real-world interaction feels high risk. We treat a 5-second awkward silence like it's life or death scenario. If you say, "Hey, what's up?" to someone at the gym, and they just nod and look away, your brain treats that minor moment like a massive emotional defeat. You tell yourself, "See, I knew I shouldn't have said that. I'm just going to stay in my lane." But the truth is, everyone around you is stuck in that exact same trap. The guy sitting next to you at work or school is just as lonely, just as isolated, and just as deeply buried in his phone as you are. He's staring at his screen for the same exact reason. He's terrified of looking weird, just like you. We are a generation of lonely people, staring at screens, waiting for the other person to be brave first. We choose the safety of isolation because rejection feels like it bogs us down. But the reality is, the isolation is what's actually pulling us under. We're trading a momentary flub for a chronic underlying sense of emptiness. And until we realize that a little bit of awkwardness won't kill us, we're gonna stay stuck on our own little digital islands. So I want you to become the person that goes up to them. And let's say you get past that initial barrier. You start talking to people. You find some guys you vibe with. And this is where the second, much bigger wall is the bro versus deep balance. It is incredibly easy to find surface friends today. You know what I mean? The guys you dap up in the hallway, the guys you can text about common things, the guys you can talk to about football games or play a couple games of Fortnite or whatever. On the surface, it looks like a friendship, but it's hollow. Because the second the conversation starts getting real, the second you try to talk about something heavy, something honest, or how you're actually doing, the vibe is completely different. A lot of guys are absolutely terrified of breaking past that layer. They're terrified of being vulnerable. We live in a culture where guys are conditioned to keep their guards all the way up 24/7. They think that expressing any real emotion or admitting that things aren't perfect makes them look weak. So what happens? If you try to bring up something real, they get insecure. They worry they're going to be judged, and instead of meeting you with maturity, they protect themselves with a defense mechanism. They'll throw out an annoying, lazy excuse like, bro, that's so gay. That'll completely deflect it with a joke. Or worse, they'll just sit there and freeze. They shut down entirely and give you a cold one-word response and let the conversation die. It is so incredibly frustrating because you realize you're surrounded by people, but you can't actually talk to any of them, and you're forced to keep this mask on. But here's the thing. Once you do finally break through that barrier, once you find a couple of guys that you can talk honestly with, without the sugarcoating, without the performance, it feels amazing. Like it's like a massive weight is lifted off your chest, and you realize, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not the only one dealing with this. But man, getting to that point feels like dragging yourself through the mud because you have to wade through 100 surface level bros just to find one actual brother. I know that's kind of sound cringy, but I hope that helps you understand that you have to have deeper friendships. Okay, I know. How do we actually fix this? How do you escape the friendship deficit and build something real without looking desperate or weird? You have to drop the online performance, and you have to change how you invite people into the real world. Most guys, when they try to hang out with someone new, they make the mistake of being incredibly vague. They say something like, hey man, we should kick it sometime, or hey bro, we gotta do something soon. Don't ever say that, okay? When you leave an invite completely open-ended, you're putting all the cognitive work on the other person. They have to guess what you mean. They have to figure out a day, and they have to risk making the first official move. Because it requires effort, they will almost always just nod and say, yeah, bro, I'm down. And then nothing ever happens. If you want to build a real-world connection, your invite has to be completely zero friction. It has to be specific, and it has to be dialed in. Instead of saying, like, we should do something, you look at them and say, hey, bro, I'm hitting the driving range on Tuesday at 2. You should pull up. Or, hey, I'm going to grab food at this spot right after school on Thursday. You want to come with? See the difference? You aren't asking them to help you create a plan. The plan already exists. You're doing what you're going to do anyway, and you're simply unlocking the door for them to step into. They don't have to assume, they don't have to guess, and they don't have to overthink. It's a simple yes or no. And if they say no, if they say they're busy, don't even worry about it and don't let it bog you down. Because now you've already established a baseline. You've already broken the ice. You can work around it. Say, all good. I mean, if you can't do Tuesday, you want to do Wednesday? And if they're down, then you've got a real plan locked in. If they give continuous excuses, then you know exactly where they stand. And you move on to someone else. No harm, no foul. You didn't lose anything by trying to become friends with this person. Look, it sucks that we live in a time where if you don't constantly initiate, make the plans, and pull people together, you end up sitting in isolation. It feels unfair that the weight of the friendship always seems to fall on your shoulders, but you can either sit there in your room scrolling through Snap Map or feeling upset that the phone isn't ringing, or you can accept the reality of our generation and decide to become the leader. Be the guy who is brave enough to put the phone down for 5 seconds. Be the guy who tolerates a moment of awkwardness to build a real connection. And be specific with your execution. Stop waiting for someone to call you on a Friday night. Build the plan, make the invite, and pull your circle together. Because the guys worth having around are waiting for someone to take the lead. And you might as well be the one to do it. Just some thoughts for today. Talk to you guys later.